I'm really delighted to be here and to join my first ever Hunters Hope family conference. So thank you so much for having me, and it's a great honor to be here. Firstly, I'd like just to say a huge thank you to the MLD and the leukodystrophy community. Orchard wouldn't be where we are today without the continual support, input and guidance that we have received from patient organizations, including Hunters Hope, but also families that have participated in the clinical programs in Milan, also part of the natural history studies, sharing your perspectives and educating the regulators with the very important patient-focused drug development meeting that took place back in 2022. A lot has happened in the last few years, and we are just so appreciative to have such wonderful collaborators and partners to really help advance both research and offer treatment options for this community. So Anna asked me to talk a little bit about who we are at Orchard, to introduce the company and a little bit about how we approach the work that we do, and to give you a kind of an overview of our pipeline, and then just to speak a little bit about gene therapy for MLD. So Dr. Burton gave a high-level overview, so I'll have a different way of presenting the same information, and please stop me if you have any questions, and I'll do my best to try to address those. So at Orchard, yeah, that's where we go. We aspire to end the devastation of genetic and other severe diseases through the transformative potential of HSC gene therapy. So HSC, you'll see that through the slides, that just means hematopoietic stem cell gene therapy. It's a different approach that's of some of the other gene therapy approaches that you might have heard about, like AAV or gene editing for other types of conditions. So Orchard, our approach is really to use this platform to potentially correct the underlying cause of the disease. And we do that across different programs that I'll talk to in a little bit. But we have our global headquarters in London. So in London, that's where the vast majority of our colleagues work, and we have an office as well in Boston in the US. So we're a small team. Orchard Therapeutics was acquired earlier this year by a Japanese company called Kyowa Kirin. So Orchard has remained the same, essentially a fully owned subsidiary of Kyowa Kirin. So we have the same great team working on all of our programs, and we do have small teams as well in various countries around Europe. I myself am based from the Netherlands, but travel globally, as you can see. I'm delighted to be here today. So we tend to focus, we have several programs currently in the clinic, where we also believe that HSC gene therapy will be scientifically and clinically differentiated. We have gene therapy called LenMLD in the US. It's called LimMLD in Europe, where it was approved in December 2020. I've received a question, but just to kind of say it here, it's all the same, but it just has a different trade name and how it is branded, but it's essentially the same gene therapy. We also have an advanced program for MPS I Hurler disease. So that's currently in a registrational study and currently recruiting with sites both here in the US and in Europe. And we have an earlier stage proof of concept study with our collaborators in the University of Manchester for Sanfilippo MPS type 3A. So these are our most advanced programs, but they're all using the same platform approach in using HSC gene therapy to try to address the underlying cause of the disease. And if we think, it'll be a similar approach for all of our programs, but just specifically to walk you through this slide. It looks quite busy, but essentially it's the same information that Dr. Burton talked about earlier this morning. So it's quite a highly specialized process. Conceptually, you can kind of think of it as the same process as a transplant, but instead of using donor cells, we're using the patient's own cells. So it starts off, if you look from the top left, we'll work around anti-clockwise. So essentially, there's going to be two visits to the treatment center. So the first of those visits really is the pre-collection activities. So obviously we need to work with the treatment centers where the doctors there will confirm clinical eligibility to receive gene therapy and making sure, you know, that the right treatment will, the right patient will receive the gene therapy. That family, once deemed eligible to receive gene therapy, will be admitted into hospital, whereby the blood cells are mobilized. So basically, this is, you can kind of think of it like a dialysis machine, where the stem cells are collected from the patient. After that happens, this can take a few days in the hospital, but the patient and the family returns home, whereby the cells then are shipped to our drug manufacturing site. We have one drug manufacturing site in Milan, in Italy, and that's where they manipulate the cells, whereby we do an ex vivo transduction with a lentiviral vector, where the gene in question, the ARSA gene, is added to the cells there. And a lot of the time, once those cells have been cryopreserved, so frozen, there's a lot of quality controls that need to be done to meet the predefined specifications. So that's quite an extensive period. We have to make sure that, of course, that the gene therapy meets all the specifications so that it's safe to administer. So once all of that has gone through the process, the drug product is returned back to the treatment center. And if we're moving around now on our circle, that's when the family is invited back to the treatment center, whereby the child who will receive gene therapy will receive chemotherapy, so myeloablative conditioning. This is really just to make space in the bone marrow for the new genetically modified cells to find their way to the bone marrow and engraft there. The administration day, I'm not sure if you've spoken to a gene therapy family who has received HSC gene therapy. It's a bit of an anticlimax in that it's a small little bag. It's a small infusion and doesn't particularly take that long. So that's all done in a space of time. And of course, the team at the treatment center is monitoring the child through this process. And the family will stay with the child for a period of between 4 to 8 weeks as the patient recovers and is being monitored while those cells are engrafting. Once safe to do so, that child is discharged, goes home, and there will be outpatient monitoring that's often done in close collaboration as well with the local physician as well, looking after the child. And there is a process then for longer term follow-up regulations as that we monitor children that receive this kind of therapy for up to 15 years. And that really is just to make sure that things are going as expected and also to monitor the safety aspects of the gene therapy. The label, and you can find the full prescribing information online. You know, that was based on the classification criteria used through the clinical studies. As Dr. Burton mentioned earlier, MLD for MLD has been approved for pre-symptomatic late infantile MLD, pre-symptomatic early juvenile MLD, and early symptomatic early juvenile MLD. So we have started in working with a select network of qualified treatment centers. As Dr. Burton mentioned earlier, University of Minnesota is our first qualified treatment center, with these other 4 institutions nearing the end of the process to become fully qualified to administer LIMELDI. They have been carefully selected, and there was a lot of considerations and thought put into that. Obviously, at the foremost, it's the clinical expertise to be able to administer this gene therapy. We also tried to look geographically to spread the initial wave of treatment centers across the country. We wanted also not to overstretch the team because there's a lot of administrative work and contracting that needs to kind of go, which can take some time. So we concentrate our efforts on this first 5 number of QTCs. We also have to think about how we get the cells from Milan into these centers. So we also have to consider, flights, backup plans, and everything else to ensure that that's a smooth process. Access reimbursement, obviously, and contracting as well with the sites. So this is the first wave, if I can say, and this is something that we hope to see grow with more centers being added with time. So we also have a program for patients that have been deemed eligible to receive our gene therapy. It's called Orchard Assist. So basically, the QTCs or the referring physician can enroll their patient in Orchard Assist, whereby we will be able to offer insurance support, some logistical support. So, because we only have 5 sites, families might have to travel from one state to the other. So supporting those needs and ongoing support as well as they go through that treatment journey with educational materials and a welcome kit, among others. We do have a website there listed at the bottom of the slide. For anybody looking for more information about MLD, we do have a product website. Please visit that if you'd like some more information. And what we would say, if if a new family comes or you come into contact, and we would kind of suggest that this family ask their physician to contact our MedInfo team. They can help guide them on the next steps and what would be needed, and to help answer any questions either about the gene therapy or referral process as well. So that's just a general website, or sorry, email address that we encourage families to share with their physicians to contact us, and we can help along that journey. So I realize I've been very quick, but I was trying to speak slowly, Anna. But I'm happy to take any questions if anybody has any.